New Zealand has a new government. Chris Luxon, Winston Peters and David Seymour just dropped 113 pages of new policies, and there are opportunities in there for property investors, and most of the media missed some of the 6 big changes that you're going to learn about in this video. I'm Ed, an economist here at Opus Partners, and this is Property Now. Interest deductibility will come in way quicker than we previously thought. Now, that's the policy where property investors, you guys were taxed as if you didn't have a mortgage, despite the fact that you still had a mortgage to pay. Now, here is the final policy compared to what National proposed at the election. Well, instead of only being able to claim 50% of your interest costs next year, you can now claim 80%. And those lower taxes, they are fully phased in a whole year earlier. Now, lots of investors, you left the market because the higher taxes, hey, they just hurt too much. But with those higher taxes gone faster, investors will be back in the market much sooner than we previously thought. Now, it's not in the New Zealand First or ACT coalition agreements, but rolling back the bright line, that is point 20 of National's 100-point plan. So it's now official government policy, and that's something that's been missed. What that means is that investors can now sell their properties sooner and not have to pay tax. It is a much more investor-friendly policy. Now, this will increase demand for properties, but it also has a supply impact because some investors, you guys own properties that you've wanted to get rid of and sell for a while, but maybe you've been holding on because you didn't want to pay tax on it. Well, once the bright line goes back down, you can bring those properties to market without having to write a big check to the IRD. So in the next few years, this policy will actually increase supply more than it increases demand. There are also big changes in how you work with your tenants. The 90-day no-cause terminations, those are back. And what that effectively means is if you run into trouble with your tenants, you can say you've got 3 months, then you're out. Just lowers some of that risk. On top of that, you'll soon be able to better protect yourself through pet bonds. So if a tenant wants a pet, you can charge a higher bond. You couldn't do that previously. There are some other changes too, but here's the main point. All of these changes in tenancy law decrease some of the perceived risks of investing. And that's going to encourage more investors to get back into the market and say, hey, investing in property is now worth it. And they're also going to be helped by some of the other changes coming. Remember the Triple CFA? That was the law where the banks started checking how much coffee you bought and how much you spent on Uber Eats, those kinds of things, and it made it way harder to get a mortgage. Well, the 3 parties have now committed to rewriting that law to make it easier to get a mortgage. Now, that could mean that more people can afford to buy and get a mortgage, and that will increase demand for property, both from homeowners, first home buyers, and also investors. Now, I'm a little less convinced about how this one will actually play out. You see, the banks have invested millions upgrading their systems to automatically scan your bank statements. And I'm just not convinced that they're going to throw these out just because the government says that they don't need them anymore. And if you like learning about property in this fact-based way, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We release new videos every Monday and Wednesday. And if you do already subscribe, I know that you're going to be excited about the next big change. Number 5 is hidden in New Zealand First agreement with National, and it's a policy to make it way easier to build a granny flat or minor dwelling. So what they want to do is they want to change the Building Act and the resource consent system, and the goal is to let you build a minor dwelling up to 60 square metres, only requiring an engineer's report. Now, this one's going to get a lot of investors excited because it is a massive opportunity. If you've got a bit of land, this could make it way easier to build that minor dwelling, get some extra cash flow. It might cost you 200 grand to build a minor dwelling, and if you get an extra $500 a week in rent, it's an awesome yield. Now, we need some more detail to see how are they actually going to implement it, when does it come in, but this is going to excite a lot of active investors. And finally, there are a lot of policies that will increase housing supply. KiwiBuild, that is out, gone. National's going to cut the program and use that money to pay councils to consent more properties. So if a council consents more properties than their 5-year average, they get part of $1 billion. Now, that is going to give councils a massive push to allow more building. And they're also going to force councils to rezone land for the next 30 years of population growth. So more land available to build on, that should keep section prices lower, making development both cheaper and more profitable, so we'll get more houses built. Now that should keep prices lower than they would otherwise be over the long term, because right now building consents are falling and going down in a massive way. We've gone from about 4,400 a month down to under 3,000 a month in less than 2 years. So this policy will sow the seeds for a building recovery probably about 2025 onwards. But in the meantime, they're also going to make the medium density residential rules optional. Now, that was the policy where anyone can build 3 townhouses on their section if they follow a couple of national set rules or rules set by the Parliament. That rule basically gone now. Councils can use it, but they have to vote on it first. And remember, the whole reason of those rules was because councils can't make decisions. Now, that policy is going to decrease supply in the short term, but increase it over the long term. And so you might be wondering, well, there's all of these factors going on. What's the overall impact? Demand and supply will both go up under these policies, but what's going to happen to property prices? Well, demand will likely rebound more quickly because once these policies come in, and most of them are just rolling back old rules, it's really easy for buyers and investors to say, right, let's go. Now, it's not going to be an opening of the floodgates. We're not going to have a repeat of 2020, 2021 because interest rates are still really high, but demand will noticeably increase. On the supply side, it's going to take time for the government to put those big policies, especially around councils. It's going to take time to put those in place. And after that, it's still going to take 6 months to 2 years to build a house. So demand and supply will increase, but house prices will likely go up because demand is going up before supply does. And that could be one of the main reasons why the Reserve Bank has just revised their house price predictions. They now see house prices going up much faster, about 5.2% in 2024 compared to the 2.7% they thought only 3 months ago. And so if now is the right time for you to invest, make sure you check out opuspartners.co.nz because we help regular Kiwis grow their wealth through new build investment properties.